Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, we have a fun one for you in today's video. We are back in the USS Montana, and of course she got a buff in this most recent update. But not only that, we are running a full damage build in this game. Now you may be asking yourself, what is a damage build? And that of course is the Azure Lane New Jersey Commander coupled with Paulo D. Revel for reload and Arthas the Cold for extra damage when your fighter plane is active. And considering that the Montana has 6 fighter planes, this is a pretty nasty build, as you guys and the enemy team will soon find out. However, not getting the memo that Aaron was trying to do a cool video was my blue team. We did have a Chad Stalingrad player on this team. He came back a little bit later, but you will see. Just pay attention to the clock and how fast our blues go down. It's like sorority girls at a frat party, man. They just go down so quick. But anyway, here we spawned on the Alpha cap, and we see this Stalingrad. He is angling just enough to where I don't want to risk this shot and lose my concealment that we do have. We know that we're probably going to be detected soon, that Kleber turned in, but there still is 2 other enemy destroyers. As I mentioned, we are playing on the Alpha side here. I feel like if 50 to 60% of the player base was to simply play on the side they spawned on, the overall game experience, especially at Legendary tier, would be so much better. But anyway, we're kind of looking at our targets here, and this is going to be our very first shot of the game. We're not going to use a plane in this situation. Despite us having 6 of them, it is going to benefit you more to save those for, of course, fully broadside or even slightly angled shots. I feel like a lot of players miss out on even just not perfectly broadside shots, the waiting for that player to turn, and they miss out on those chunky upper belt penetrations. As you will see in this game, we don't get too many citadels. However, we do amass over 200,000 damage by simply taking those upper belt and or superstructure shots. But speaking of broadsides, here is a Sovetski Soyuz with a case of the broadside-itis. We take the shot, lead it pretty well. Not the most accurate shot, but we pop the fighter plane there, and there goes half of his health in one salvo. Now, I know that my accuracy guys are going to say, well, if you had a full accuracy build on everything... Listen, I'm with you guys. I used to run full accuracy. I still run accuracy DPM on a majority of my cruisers. However, that just gets boring after a while, and I feel like RNG recently is out to get me. If you guys saw my game in the Flander the other night, I have lost whatever RNG I ever had. I need to sacrifice a goat or something. Finny needs to donate even more money. No, I'm just kidding. But I've tried to switch up a little bit of my philosophy and try to run more damage, DPM, or just fun builds. Running the same old accuracy build, yes, it will get you the decent results, but it's just boring. And as Tactic Angel's analogy goes, yes, you may be able to throw spaghetti at the wall accurately, but I can throw more of it and with larger noodles. And of course, what he means by that is, yes, you may be getting accurate spaghetti salvos, but at the same time, you're still relying on RNG, whereas a damage or DPM build, you are able to throw larger noodles, aka, more damage or higher damage salvos at a quicker pace with your DPM build. So just food for thought, no pun intended. But anyway, let's move on to the little bit of the strategy of this game. We talked about how our team did not want anything to do with winning. As you can see, the Sovetski Soyuz didn't want anything to do with winning either. But that is 3 of our ships down in less than 4 minutes there, 2 of which being destroyers. Guys, if you're going to take a destroyer out, you have a little bit of a responsibility to try to give your team the best advantage possible, especially at Legendary tier with such strong destroyers. Shimakaze, I can't think of a weak destroyer at the tier. Even the gearing in the right set of circumstances can be an absolute menace to the enemy team. And when you're a destroyer and you die early, you leave the field so open to the enemy destroyers. Right now, as you can see, I'm running towards all of my ships at this side. And there is a destroyer behind me. You can see me pinging this area. The Kleber went right up the middle. We have no idea where the Z-52 is. And our gearing is off in La La Land trying to torpedo battleships hidden behind that cove there on the north side of Alpha. So when you're in a destroyer, number 1, don't die early. But number 2, you have somewhat of a responsibility to help spot for your team. But thank goodness, like I mentioned, we had that Chad in the Stalingrad. One may call him a Stalin Chad. But he popped his radar there. So we're going to go ahead and turn, try to get all guns on target because 2 of our destroyers are down. We need to eliminate these destroyers if we want any hope of winning this game. We pop the salvo there, we pop our plane, and 8, I say penetrations, but they're all overpens. One of them is labeled as a penetration, but you can only ever do overpen damage, even if you quote-unquote penetrate that target with guns over 280 millimeters. So I don't know why it gives that medal, but regardless, we got a huge chunk off of his health, at 69,000 total damage, as a 4th of our ships and a 5th of our ships go down. I don't know, again, how these people make it to Legendary tier as we give them the coveted good job. I've said it before, but I will say it again. I will never understand how you can make it to the highest tier of a video game, regardless of what that game is, and still not have a simple understanding of how to survive more than 1/3 of the battle. But regardless, because of their sacrifice, not really, we have a target-rich environment. Again, the main is sailing broadside right where the Sovietsky Soyuz was. We pop a salvo. Unfortunately, we don't have our plane. It doesn't matter though, we get a beautiful 2 citadels there. We take the back turret shot, and we actually clutch the 3rd citadel, which gets us the devastating strike. That is when the Stalingrad comes around the corner here, and we're in a little bit of a tough spot. We have these destroyers behind us, we have a Kurfürst to our broadside there behind that island, and here is a Stalingrad. Definitely not angled enough to him. He gets a good chunk off of us, and here we're going to try and aim and take out his guns. He is angling decent to us. You always want to make sure you aim high, and there is a perfect example why. 6 penetrations, 3 overpens for 9 total hits out of 12. And that was about 15,000 damage to his ship. Now, unfortunately, you will not get consistent salvos after that superstructure becomes saturated on any ship, battleship or otherwise, but especially a cruiser. So, you know, strategy dictates that we switch to HE here, but I truthfully just wanted the meme potential with the AP and the damage build. So we're going to keep the AP loaded here. We actually knock out a turret and do a decent more chunk to his either upper belt there and or superstructure, but that ticks us the high caliber in about, you know, half of the game time here. If only our team had survived just a little bit longer, this could have pushed to potentially 300k. You guys will see with the amount of damage left on the board. The reload is not enough, and this Stalingrad angles right around this corner. I thought he was going to back around it. Again, that's why we kept the AP loaded, but we get a 3rd and final salvo on him before he goes around the corner, and no joy on that one. But speaking of destroyer play, here's our gearing smoking up in front of a radar cruiser. If you thought you were having a bad day, it's you can feel better about yourself. No, I'm just kidding. But there is the remaining enemy team all coming to focus. What is left of our team? We are sort of angled out in a defensive position here, and I kind of realized, like, this game is over no matter what. I might as well just charge in. It's not going to matter one way or another. There is the Kleber. We were spotted briefly earlier. There is a Lucian behind us. The GK has a good, you know, quarter of his health, and the Zhao is full health. So, yeah, just a sad state of affairs Legendary tier is sometimes. However, you just have to make the best of it. We've already gotten a high caliber, a dev strike. We've absolutely done our job. I know some people, it's not most people, most of you guys are absolute chads in the comments, but there are just some uninformed people who are like, well, you could have ran in earlier. Well, what is that going to accomplish as our Stalingrad goes down? There's 6 minutes left to the game. We've done about 1/3 of our team's damage, and there's still about 2/3 of the enemy team left. So yes, I could have potentially done more a little bit sooner. However, it's a team-based objective game. There's 9 players. It's just like a group project. If everybody pulls a little bit of their weight, the outcome would be a lot better. But we have a few games coming up where, you know, we have some decent teams, and those games are just so much more fun on both sides of the coin, win or loss. Of course, I always want to win, but I much prefer a close loss than a landslide win or landslide loss, of course. But let's go ahead and get the finishing touches on this video. Here we have an Agile Zhao doing his Agile thing, and sometimes you can kind of counter them. Now, we're definitely not getting the dispersion or the RNG, but if you take a single fire salvo, such as we're doing here, sometimes they will dodge that one, which leaves them exposed to the other. So we have a destroyer to our left, a Zhao to our right, and that is when the Lucian pops up. He either got detected, he started shooting, or, of course he would have been detected anyway, but we go ahead and turn into him. Anytime you see a destroyer like that, now the Colbert does have torpedoes, but they don't, they're not that long range, so we turn into him, missing those torpedoes. We don't really have too much time to worry about him. We have bigger threats to deal with, and of course, it's a pipe dream at this point that we're going to win the game. However, I do want to maximize the damage while we're in it. We can see that this Zhao has a third case. The broadside-itis is going around here. We aim just a touch high as he is going around that island there, and I'm not exactly sure what happened to that salvo as we try to get our rear guns off on this GK. We missed the citadels on the Zhao. I can't understand for the life of me how Wargaming thinks that broadside cruisers sailing, in front of battleships and getting away with it is just an acceptable gameplay mechanic. But regardless, we get a finishing touch on that Kurfürst there, which takes us into the Confederate territory. 1920 on the XP, which would have been around 3,000 on a win. And then there is just an absolute drop off a cliff there of XP for our team. So, other than the Stalin chat, if you're on my team, watch a few of my videos, improve your gameplay. We will all have a better experience. But here's that full damage build like we talked about. Azurline, New Jersey, Paulo de Revel, and Arthas the Cold there for the added damage when your fighter plane is up. So a fun little game. 217,000 was our finishing touch there. Here's our build on New Jersey. So, let me know what builds you guys want to see next, what builds you specifically run. And yeah, future videos. Make sure you guys tune in tonight for the giveaway. You guys have a fantastic evening. AA Ron out. Peace.